Have you ever taken a ride where you know before you even leave the driveway that it's going to mean something? Not just miles, not just a destination, but something you'll remember for a long time. This ride was one of those rides. 400 miles from our home down to Ocala, Florida, for the Blue Knights Regional Convention. But what made this one different is not only is it the first long distance ride of the season and the first long distance ride for this channel, but it was Debi's first real long distance motorcycle trip ever. And if you've ever taken that first big ride, you already know you don't forget it. Welcome to the channel. I'm Dave. If you're into real world riding, real stories, and learning from every mile, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button because riding season is here and we're taking this thing on the road for real. And this ride right here is exactly what this channel is all about. So let's get into the trip. We rolled out early on a Saturday morning with the bikes loaded up. The weather was just about perfect. You know that feeling before a long ride. There's just a little bit of the unknown waiting out there. For me, it was familiar. For Debi, it was new territory. As we pulled up to the first red light, everything paused for a second. I glanced over at Debi, her first real long-distance ride, and you could see it, that mix of excitement and focus. I gave her a nod.
Love you.
Love you. And with that, the light turned green and the journey started. We rolled into downtown Woodstock, Georgia, just a few miles from where we live and where we started. It's the kind of small town with quaint little shops, people moving from place to place, and that small town feel that just pulls you in. You've got restaurants tucked everywhere, perfect spots to grab a bite and just watch the world go by. Then you start to hear it, live music, bars and guitars playing, people laughing, and that mix of sound that just fits the place like this. You pass Mad Life Studios, where there's always something going on. And just up the road, the Northside Hospital Amphitheater, where summer nights fill up with free concerts. It's the kind of place where the ride slows down, but the experience gets bigger. As we headed out of Woodstock, we headed towards the interstate and the major portion of our trip. We decided to use the Atlanta Express lanes. Not because traffic was bad, honestly. It was moving fine. But sometimes it's not about getting around traffic. It's about getting away from it. The Atlanta Express lanes is a lane that is physically separated from the rest of the interstate and the rest of the traffic. No constant merging, no cars drifting in and out, just more controlled, more predictable ride. And on a bike, that matters. It gives you room to think, room to breathe, and lets you settle into the ride without all the noise. And for Debi, heading towards downtown Atlanta for the first time on a ride like this, well, that made all the difference. Instead of worrying about everything around her, she could just settle in and ride her ride. We stayed in the Atlanta Express lanes all the way to the Atlanta perimeter. We came out of the express lane straight into the HOV lane, which in Georgia are motorcycle friendly. As we got closer to downtown Atlanta, you could feel it building. Because let's be real, nobody likes driving a car through downtown Atlanta, let alone riding a motorcycle. Atlanta has some of the worst traffic in the country. And on a Saturday morning, you never know what you're really gonna get. For her first time heading into Atlanta, something like this, I know Debi was apprehensive. But we stayed in the HOV lane all the way through, keeping it moving, slow, steady, and smooth. As we make our way through Atlanta, we roll past the Georgia Institute of Technology. It's a historic campus right in the middle of the city, with a mix of old brick buildings and modern structure. Immediately after that, we pass by some buildings that most people don't even think twice about. It's the old housing from the 1996 Summer Olympics. They were used for athlete housing and now serve as university dorms. And then, up ahead, you can't miss the Westin Peachtree Plaza Tower. That tall, round building rising over everything. It's one of the landmarks that defines the Atlanta skyline. Traffic turned out to be mild to moderate, moving along at a good pace. No major backups, and Debi, she handled it like a pro, no hesitation, just rode her ride. Now, what she didn't know at the time was this was just a warm-up, because Atlanta had a whole different plan waiting for us on our way home. When we were planning the trip, I told Debi Once we got south of the city and the HOV lane dropped off, we would move over to the right lane and work from there. Pass as we needed to keep it smooth, keep it steady, and keep it controlled. Of course, Debbie being Debbie, she looks at me and says, "Why wouldn't we just stay in the left lane? It's more protected." I had to explain, yeah, it is more protected. But once the HOV lane ends, the left lane turns into something else. You've got to run left lane speeds. And on the south side of Atlanta, that's not 65 or 70. That's more like 80 or 90. Now, in my mind, this was a heads up, just laying it out there. But Debbie didn't hear a warning, she heard a challenge. And sure enough, she locked in and ran 80 plus all the way to our first stop south of Macon. She never backed off. And somewhere along the way, I was just shaking my head thinking, yep, I should have known better. After 130 miles, we made our first stop. A stop that every road trip needs at least once. Buc-ee's. If you've been, you already know. If you haven't, it's hard to explain until you see it. Wall-to-wall fuel pumps, 150 to 200 of them in some cases. More snacks than you can count. And about everything you didn't know you needed on a road trip. But what's more? It's a reset point. Stretch your legs, hydrate, check in on how you're feeling. And for Debbie, this was a big moment. Her first long ride, her first real break, and she was doing great. That's when I knew the ride's going the right way. After a long rest, we got back on the road and headed through Middle and South Georgia on the way to Florida. As we left Buc-ee's, we continued through Middle Georgia and on into South Georgia. And that's where the ride changes. The roads flatten out, the curves disappear, and it turns into long, straight, flat stretches of highway. Not the most exciting riding, but it's where you learn discipline. It's easy to get comfortable. It's easy to lose focus. Then we crossed into Florida, and somehow it gets even flatter and even straighter. Miles and miles of road that just keep going. It may not be thrilling riding, but it's still part of the ride. "400 miles later, almost on the dot, we rolled into Ocala, Florida. Tired, but in a good way. The kind of tired you earn. Helmets coming off, stretching your legs. That moment where you finally take a breath and realize you made it. The bikes are parked, the rest of the gear comes off, and just like that, we were there. Debbie did a fantastic job. You look around for a second and take it all in. And now the focus shifts from the ride to the conference and the people and the friends we're going to see. Hey y'all, so we hit the road this morning from Northwest Atlanta, almost exactly 400 miles on the button, and we have arrived at the Holiday Inn and Suites in Ocala, Florida. Welcome to Florida, y'all. So this was Debi's first long distance ride. By the way, y'all haven't met Debi yet. She is the Mrs. The Road Taught Me. And if there's one thing I can tell y'all for sure, the road taught me everything I know about motorcycle riding. The wife taught me everything else. But for this trip, I have a question for Debi. I asked her how her very first long distance ride went, what she learned, what the road taught her on this ride, and something that she can think of that is an absolute must-have for every long-distance road trip. So, Debi, what'd you learn?
Pace yourself.
Pace yourself. Good advice. Good advice. For those of you that are wondering, you want to add about 35% to any road trip that you do on a motorcycle because you got to stop more often, you got to stretch more often, especially when you're old like me. So anything else you learned?
Buc-ee's is amazing on travel for bathrooms.
So we will talk about Buc-ee's later in the episode. We did stop at Buc-ee's. And what's a must-have for any road trip?
You absolutely have to have the perfect curated music playlist.
Music playlist to occupy your ears while you're riding down the road. So welcome to Ocala, Florida, y'all. We are here, we are having fun, and we are ready to ride some more. The Blue Knights Southern Regional Conference ran Sunday through Tuesday, and it's one of those events that reminds you what this community is really about. We had several members of our chapter, Georgia 6th, there, and that alone made the trip worthwhile. But what really stands out is seeing old friends again, people you might not see so often, but when you do, it's like no time has passed. And at the same time, you meet new friends from different chapters, from different parts of the country. Same mindset, same passion, same respect for the ride. That's the Blue Knights. Monday brought a couple of group ride options. There was a police escorted ride, which you see leaving here. Then there was a guided ride through Florida horse country to Crystal River Harley-Davidson. That's the one we chose, and I'm glad we did. We suited up, we got lined up, and we got ready, because that ride was something special. We headed out as a group, and before long, the scenery started to change. Open land, open fields, horse farms stretching for miles. And that's a different kind of riding. No city noise, no heavy traffic, just smooth roads, wide views, and that steady rhythm you fall into with everything that feels right. You could smell the air change, see the space open up. It's one of those rides where you don't feel rushed. You just settle in and take it all in. This is the kind of riding that reminds you why you started riding in the first place. We made it to Crystal River Harley-Davidson, and that stop, along with the catered barbecue, felt like a reward at the end of the ride. Bikes lined up, everybody swapping stories, that shared understanding that only riders really get. conference wrapped up Tuesday night with a banquet. Now, formal means something a little different in the motorcycle world, but it's still time to slow things down, reflect on the week, and just enjoy the company. More conversations, more laughs, and a lot of appreciation for the people around you. Those are the moments that stick. Wednesday morning, it was time to head home. Another 400 miles. But now, Debi had already done it. She wasn't riding her first ride anymore, and that confidence showed up on the ride home. Smoother, more relaxed, and just enjoying it. And that's what riding does. It builds you mile by mile. Then came Atlanta's different plan on the way home. It decided to show us what it's really about. Rush hour. Right through the middle of downtown, traffic stacked up, lanes packed tight, cars moving fast 1 second, slowing almost to a stop the next. This is a different kind of riding that demands everything from you. No room for distractions. No room for hesitation. I kept watching ahead, paying attention to Debi, the same rider who just a few days ago was heading into her first long-distance trip. And now she's right there in the middle of the worst of it, locked in. Her head and eyes were up, holding her line, managing her space, making smart, confident decisions the whole way through. And I'll tell you, she didn't just get through it, she handled it. Smooth, controlled, composed. That kind of riding you earn, mile by mile. And watching that was just as rewarding as the ride itself. I told her at the end, now you don't have to be afraid of Atlanta. You just can hate it like the rest of us. And with that, we safely made it home. This trip wasn't just about riding to Ocala and back. It was about the ride, the people, and the whole experience while we were there. It was about watching someone else, someone I love and care about, take their first long distance ride and watching them realize that they can do it. That's something you don't forget. That's what this channel is about. Real rides, real lessons, and real stories from the road. Because the road doesn't just teach you how to ride, it teaches you what you're capable of. If you've ever taken that first long ride, or you're thinking about it, drop a comment and tell me about it. Tell me about your plans, or tell me about your first experience. And if you're not there yet, you will be. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and just get out there and just ride.